This is episode 318, and we're talking all about repeat and repurpose and why talking about the same thing over and over again is actually a must. Welcome to the Content Queen podcast. I'm your host, Mariah, entrepreneur, storyteller, digital nomad, creator of Content Bootcamp, and founder of Content Queen with over 10 years experience in marketing. This podcast is here to help you create the ideal content marketing plan by blending storytelling and strategy. So let's get into it. Hello gang, how are we? Different location in the bus, switching it up, trying new things. But I want to talk about a story that I hear very often from business owners. I want to start by sharing what I often hear from business owners. I feel like people still don't really know what I do. Have we all said that? I feel like we all have said it multiple times in our business. And when we actually start looking at it, something comes up. And I did a workshop on this recently, and someone that had been in business for years and years and years, like long time, said this: yeah, I need to keep sharing and telling people who I am and what it is I do, and sharing the same thing over and over and over. And a lot of the times, maybe we do this once, twice, and then we move on to the next thing because we worry about sounding repetitive. We worry about being annoying. We assume that everyone's already seen it. I'll never forget the time that I talked so much about this workshop that I was doing, and then someone said, "Oh, you're doing a workshop. I didn't know." And I was like, I feel like I've spoken about this workshop over and over. The truth is, people don't see everything. Actually, on average, your audience, it's lucky that 20% of your audience is actually going to see your content. You might look at your Instagram analytics and it might say that this post reached 80% of your audience versus 20% of your non-audience. But actually, when you dive deeper into the reach of your posts, the amount of people you're reaching, it might not be as high as the number of followers that you have. So this is why we need to still talk about what we do over and over and remind people, because your audience is busy. They're working, they're scrolling, maybe they're parenting, they're living their lives. They are trying to get jobs done in their life, whether it is remembering things, running their own business, doing all the things. So they're going to miss stuff, and they're going to miss it a lot. And even when someone sees something once, doesn't mean it's going to stick. I remember a mentor of mine always says, "I told you that 6 months ago when I come up with an idea." It's like, because I needed to hear it in different ways before I actually acted on it. So just because someone has seen one piece of your content does not mean it's going to land for them. And they might need to see it in different ways. They could potentially also need to see it from someone else. Then they might come back, but they might go somewhere. And that's okay, because it is about finding those people that will resonate with your message. And there is research around this, right? Like, we know with touch points now, it's 7 touch points across 4 channels and 11 hours of research before someone will take action on purchasing from you. Now, as I always say, as small business owners, those numbers can be a bit skewed because we're talking about a smaller audience who are probably more engaged. But even those touch points, 7, probably could be 18, could be 20, could be a lot more, depending on your business as well. I'm a service-based provider. For someone to engage in my service, they really want to trust me, depending on the pricing as well, right? What I see happen in most business owners is we will always whisper the most important part and wonder why no one hears us. We will shout out the rooftops about our holiday coming up or behind the scenes, all the fun stuff, which then you say, that's what gets the engagement, that's what gets the likes, because you say it with gusto, right? We just got back from visiting Heron Island and these gorgeous turtles, and I know as soon as I post that, it's going to get loads of engagement because I was really happy and excited about it. When we whisper what we do in business, we get quieter replies. Remember that. So this is why we need to repeat and repurpose our idea over and over. So it becomes important, it becomes louder, and it becomes clearer. So I'm going to take you through 3 key points around repurposing and repetition to help you go, yes, I need to keep talking about this is a really good reminder for us, a really good reminder for me as well, because I think we get lost in that sometimes. We have our plan for the start of the year. We're coming into another quarter very soon. We go all guns blazing, and then as the quarter starts to draw out, we get lost with all the information we get around us. We start seeing traction on really fun and engaging pieces of content, and then we forget why we're here. So repetition builds recognition. People don't recognize you for something that you say once. They recognize you because of the consistency in which you say it. Your message needs repetition, and it's not because you have the people that aren't listening. It's because we're human. As I said before, people maybe missed a post. They skimmed past it. Maybe the visual didn't quite capture their attention for them to stop long enough. Or they see it and they don't realize it's about them. You know, the double take? Maybe they didn't do the double take. Repetition is how people can connect the dots. And over time, this is how people start to go, oh, yeah, you're that person that does X, Y, Z. You work with these types of people, and this is what you really believe in. And eventually you start to become known for something. But without that repetition, your content feels scattered, and people don't recognize your work. They don't know what you do, and that's why. Maybe, yes, you are a multi-passionate person that has ideas here and there and wants to pluck things, but try and hone it in on that key message of what you're here to help people do. I'm reading a book talking about jobs to be done. There's so much in it that I can't even do a podcast until I finish the book, but it's really good. It's called Competing Against Luck, and it's talking about understanding the job that someone does and why they need to hire you to do that job. So understanding that, what you're known for, and keep talking about it a lot. I've talked about content strategy and storytelling since 2021, over and over and over again. I just package it in different ways, but I keep sharing it. And that's what I become known for. That's what people know me for, is helping with content strategy, helping people build out their stories and share them online. And from that, my brand being Content Queen, people label me Content Queen. That is from a long time of building that. And I say 2021 was when I connected the dots of storytelling and strategy, but I've been doing this repetitively since 2019. And I never forget someone said you need to really love what you do because you've got to talk about it over and over and over again. And yeah, it can get boring. You can have lulls of, oh my God, I feel really lost and I feel like I'm talking about the same thing. You just got to find new ways to be creative about it. The second thing is that repetition is here to build trust. I had a client that launched a book, and in the end, she had, in pre-sale, sold 600 copies. But it didn't happen because she just announced the book and then hoped people would buy it. For months, she spoke about it. What is inside the books, the lessons behind it, the experiences that shaped it, the themes that she believed in, the work she's been doing with clients, and it all came down and back to the book. If you didn't know she was launching a book, you literally had been hiding under a rock because she talked about it over and over and over again. Then once the book launched, it was that momentum of keeping and talking about it. And of course, over time, when you're launching something like that, it does start to dwindle eventually, and then you find ways to bring it back to life. But it was because that book was about her key message. So it was easy for her to keep talking about it. And these ideas weren't new to her audience. They had just been hearing them over and over and over again. And they can tell you exactly what she's known for. It's like, can someone tell you your bio without you sending them a bio? Based on your social media, based on your website, based on any content you create, any marketing you do, can someone actually explain what you do? Ask someone, or what do you think I do? Like, if you were to do an elevator pitch, tell me. Ask a family member, ask a client, ask someone. Go and do that and tell me what comes up. I would love to know. But basically, with this trust that this client built, when the book came out, it didn't feel like all of a sudden she was promoting it. It was an extension of what she'd been talking about ahead of time. We did this with a client that we worked with that was launching a book herself, and we didn't all of a sudden announce this topic. We talked about it over time, even before she'd sort of announced the book launch and all of that, right? People don't get bored of repetition because they're not seeing everything. You're going to get bored of repetition, and it's up to you to find creative ways and to be really passionate about what you do. And if you do lose that passion, how you can bring other things in to bring it to life, or do you need to reshape your business? And that happens, right? It's normal. It happens all the time. And the third one is repetition doesn't always mean saying the exact same thing, right? This is where the creativity comes in. This is where repurposing comes in. You're not repeating the same sentence over and over again. Of course, maybe your marketing taglines and your marketing messaging, like be a content queen and remember that developing your strategy and story develops your business, which is part of this podcast. But it's exploring new ways to share the same message. One core idea can become a podcast, a blog, a carousel on Instagram, a short form video, a client story, a lesson, a reflection. The message stays the same, but the pathway in which you're sharing it changes. The channel, the creative lens that you bring it on, the story that you attach to it. Everything is the same in terms of what people are trying to understand what you're trying to say, but the vehicle that you drive with it can be different, from the content to the lesson that you attach to it. And yes, there are going to be people that talk about the same topics. That's normal. Almost every industry has overlaps in conversation. I will feel like I've spoken about something, or I've thought of something, or I've just talked about it with one client, and then all of a sudden I see it on like 5 different other marketers, and I'm like, that's creepy, right? Because themes come up all the time. It's the lens in which you say it that's going to be different from your audience, because they're going to be attracted to that. And that's where brand personality layers on top of your core message. So if you think of your core message being something that your audience understands, this is what you do, and this is how you help them get a job to be done, you sprinkle that with brand identity and brand personality, which means one person is going to choose you over someone else, right? And also from that lens of maybe you understand the job better than someone else too, because that can happen. But it's really that blend of that core message, what I'm known for, what I do, repeat, but it's the brand profile, the brand personality, the brand identity that makes it fun and creative and engaging for your audience. It's how you say it that's going to resonate. It's the story in which you tell, the experience that you share, and the way that you explain things. Some people aren't going to like how I explain things, and they're going to get it better from someone else. But there are people, I literally saw some feedback the other day. Let me get it, because actually it was quite interesting. And this is a good example of how the way in which you teach things, the way in which you say things. I am not teaching anything that someone else isn't saying, but it's the way in which I explain it that can resonate with someone, right? But let me read this feedback. I thought it was quite good. This was feedback from my audio experience, which was my podcast that I have. And it says here, Mariah talks the same way people around me growing up talked. It felt natural, and the points she makes really clarify every main point of strategic content. So I'm like, am I like an elder? Like to them, like a experienced older generation really explaining, like it's like around people growing up talked. So yeah, maybe I'm like a wise woman. Actually, I did a past life regression the other week, and I was a wise woman, but that's a story that's not for this podcast. Story for another day. But yes, it's the way, and I had someone tell me like, oh, you're like 20 years younger than me or more, and it feels like you're my big sister. So that's the lens in which people would resonate, but not everyone would resonate with that. Someone might want a real hype person, like really hype, really yah. Someone else might want someone that's like really no BS, like very blunt, very direct. And that's not how I do things, because I see things from this lens and I see things from that lens. It doesn't mean that I'm not going to give you the most like my lived experience advice to you, but it also means that I can see where you're coming from or where someone else might be coming from. So that's how you attract people that resonate with you. Not everyone will. And someone might say the same thing 10 times over, but it's the way in which I say it that might resonate with you. I remember listening to this podcast. It's like, yes, nothing is ever new, but it's the lens in which you say it that resonates. And this message from this podcast, so many people have said this message, but you're listening to this podcast and maybe this will resonate with you. So it's really, the core stays the same in any piece of content that you create, the thing that you want to be known for, but it's the way in which you say it. So getting creative and understanding that, yes, you are going to feel like you're repeating yourself. Maybe sometimes you're going to feel like you are banging your head against a brick wall. I will never forget 2022, 2023, really frustrated because people were still on about trending audios and all those nuances of content that made no difference if you didn't have content strategy. And then eventually people started to see it. So you're going to feel like there's people against you saying things differently to you. And having your opinion and having it in your way is really important, and telling it in your way. You are going to have some people that say you have to be controversial. You have to have an opinion, but whether you're controversial about that opinion is up to you and your brand. So to summarize this, when someone tells me, I don't think people really know what I do, I often think about how easy it is for us to say something once and then think people know and understand, and then we get on with the fun behind the scenes content that gets the engagement. Sometimes the issue is not that people don't understand, they just haven't heard it enough times and you haven't given them a chance to understand it. We all see, hear, and think things differently, unfortunately, sometimes, because, it would be nice if we all had similar values to ourselves. But it's like when a startup starts a business, right? And they think that their product is going to be used for this particular thing. And then people all of a sudden start using it in a different way than they thought. And they have that opportunity to pivot. I've had a client that's done that, like pivot in the way in which people use it. And that is their job that they're trying to get done. And you sort of, meet them halfway. So you've got to give people the chance to understand it, but also hear how they understand what you do, because maybe that is opening you up to a new opportunity. People need to hear things again in different ways and in different moments of their lives. And that's what repetition allows. Now, how you get the most out of this repetition is by repurposing. Everything you do, how can you use that key message from that piece of content in multiple different ways so people really understand what it is you're trying to say? And also, we consume in different ways. Some people are more long form, some people are more short form, some people need to hear it from a lens of reading it, some people need to listen to it, some people need to watch it. So that's where repurposing can help you a lot, because you've got that key message of that blog or that podcast that underlines what you do and how you say it, and then you sort of pick and choose the journey in which people see it. So if there's something that you deeply believe in, something that sits at the heart of your work, keep repeating it, keep teaching it, keep sharing it. Because the message that might feel repetitive to you might be the message that someone needs to hear for the very first time. People don't know as much as you know about your topic. And I have been reminded of this a lot over my journey of being in business. And we need these reminders because we forget. Go back to the basics and teach what it is that you do and what you want to be known for. And if you haven't done that exercise, do it. What do you want to be known for? What are the 2 things that you want to be known for? What is your core marketing message? Sometimes you might need a bit of a brainstorm. Come over to the Ask Me Anything WhatsApp group. It is $30 for 14 business days, and we can brainstorm this. I'll put the link in the show notes if you want to join, because this is the stuff that changes people's lives. The work that you do that's going to change people's lives. And if you don't talk about it enough, you can't have the impact. So that's why if you ever feel like you're being annoying and boring and repetitive, people are not hearing it as much as you think they are. But be a content queen or king, and remember that developing your strategy and story develops your business. Thank you so much for joining me today, and please don't forget to share this with all your business and entrepreneurial friends. You can do this by tagging me on Instagram when you share it to your stories at Content Queen Mariah, or you can tell them about it, send them a cheeky link. If you do rate and review, it does help me get my podcast more in the charts, which means that more people will see it. You help people who need who are struggling with marketing and need more support. And also it allows me to get amazing guests on. I've been pitched by some really great guests that are coming on the show, and I wouldn't be able to do that if you weren't leaving more ratings and reviews. So thank you for the ones that have, and if you haven't, please do. Follow me on TikTok, Instagram, LinkedIn, all the places, and let me know if there are any topics you want me to talk about. We're coming into a new month, new topics, going into May as well, new topics, new quarter. Let me know if you want me to talk about anything in the future, and I will see you next week. Bye.